So the news broke the other day that Joyce decided to leave Qantas early. For those of you who don't live in Australia, Joyce had been running Qantas Airlines in one form or another for about 15 years as its chief executive. He's been a pretty divisive figure over that time, very popular with shareholders and with the board, but less so with the employees and on the odd occasion with customers too. And increasingly that customer dissatisfaction has grown worse throughout the COVID period and since. And there have been a number of missteps, I think it's fair to say. So what are the leadership lessons I think we can draw from Joyce's tenure? Well, what about balancing interests while driving profits? That's pretty essential. A leader needs to balance the interests of shareholders, they are after all the people who put the money into the business, with those of the customers. And also I'd argue as well staff. Given the monumental size of Qantas, it's a pretty big organisation, you've got to have the staff on side as well. Excessively favouring one group certainly leads to discontentment in the others. Then we need to think about perception and reality. Public perception has tangible impacts on the leadership. A leader may achieve financial success, but if their actions lead to negative public perception, it can result in early exit of the chief executive, or more usually others, or other reputational damage. Then managing crises. Now, in the past, Joyce chose to ground the entire fleet during an industrial dispute. A pretty tigerish move, it's got to be said, and that's a great understatement. It was a drastic measure. Now, what this is about is that as a leader, especially of a substantial organisation, you've got to be prepared to make tough decisions. But you've also got to anticipate the potential fallout. Then there's another area which is a bit tricky, which is around ethics and ethical leadership. And there have been some recent allegations that have come to bear about selling tickets for cancelled flights, or what's called slot hoarding in airlines and at airports. This sort of thing clearly tarnishes a leader's reputation and the reputation indeed of the company that they run. So leaders have to prioritise ethical decision making when faced with lucrative opportunities. Then there's this idea of flexibility and rigidity. Now, Joyce is not clearly, over the years, watching him from afar on TV and in newspapers, he's not the most flexible individual. And in this day and age, in the age whereby news can circle the world on social media in about 5 minutes flat, leaders need to find some sort of balance. And being unyielding may well be an asset in some tough situations, but there are certainly times when flexibility and understanding are required. Then we come to accountability and responsibility. And as a coach, one of the things I push people on is being accountable. Now, Joyce took government subsidies during COVID and then refused to repay them, saying that they provided a service, despite the fact that immediately post-COVID, Qantas soared back into profits. Now, so you've achieved a lot of profit and you're not going to give money back. It's not a great demonstration of corporate responsibility, it's got to be said. So, leaders need to be prepared to be accountable for their decisions. Now, Joyce is a man of strong values and strong convictions. And while the latter can guide a leader's decisions, it's important to ensure that those convictions align with the broader values of society, stakeholders, and the organisation. So there needs to be a bit of caution around what you do. Then we come to succession and legacy. A leader's exit provides insights into their overall tenure. And while Joyce's financial successes are notable, the controversies surrounding his leadership have overshadowed some of these great achievements. Announcing that you're exiting immediately after a government inquiry and going almost the day after is frankly not a good look. Remember, organisational culture, it's a reflection of organisational culture, the departure of a leader. And the culture is set by a leader. And it has profound impacts on the company. Moreover, prioritising profits over people can lead to long-term brand and reputation issues. As highlighted by comments from the local trade union president, long-term versus short-term vision is a tough act to balance. While immediate profits and shareholder returns are important, leaders should also focus on the long-term sustainability and reputation of any company. In essence, while achieving financial targets is crucial for any leader, it's equally important to maintain ethical standards, public trust, especially in something like a state airline, essentially, or a national airline. So public trust and a balanced approach that considers all stakeholder interests. So what do I think? On balance, from a purely shareholder perspective, Joyce has done a fantastic job. There are elements to his approach that I wouldn't necessarily agree with, but by and large, he took an airline that was mired in some quite deep problems, and he has produced the goods. On balance, I think he's probably overstayed his welcome. I think that he got into some situations which could have been perhaps better managed by another person. It'll be interesting to see what his successor's take is on all of this. I'd be a little bit disappointed if she decided to blame it all on the boss that had just gone. I think there's some structural issues that need sorting out. I think there's some expectations that need managing. Now, I'm not judging this with 2020 hindsight. I'm simply bringing an outsider's perspective to what I see. These and other sorts of ideas are typical of the sorts of things that I'm going to cover on this channel. And if you'd like to join, then please subscribe, give me a bit of a thumbs up, and ring the bell to make sure that you get updates from me.